Hold up, what if I told you that BlackRock, the $11 trillion financial giant, just made XRP inevitable? This isn't another crypto moonshot story. This is the world's largest asset manager quietly engineering the financial rails of tomorrow, and XRP is about to become the invisible plumbing that powers it all. Listen up, BlackRock's XRP play isn't speculation anymore. It's now a structural certainty. The planet's most powerful asset manager doesn't make random gambles. They architect financial transformations. This isn't some fund testing crypto waters. This is the mastermind behind global capital flows preparing to rebuild the very infrastructure of finance, with XRP positioned as the essential utility driving everything. Here's what you need to grasp. BlackRock doesn't follow trends, they create the ecosystem where trends flourish. When they mobilize, we're talking trillions, not billions. Their XRP approach isn't focused on quick gains. It's about dominance, weaving liquidity pathways deep into the tokenized economy they're constructing. This isn't riding a trend, it's reshaping the entire financial landscape. They've been analyzing Ripple's technology stack. They've observed the XRP ledger transform from a trading token into industrial-strength liquidity infrastructure. Now, with regulatory frameworks solidifying and real-world asset tokenization becoming mandatory globally, BlackRock recognizes what retail investors still miss. XRP is destined to become the neutral bridge connecting traditional finance with the digital future. Behind closed doors, they're collaborating with regulatory authorities, running tests on RippleNet integration pathways, and evaluating the XRP ledger's capacity for massive throughput. When trillions begin flowing across blockchain networks, only select assets can handle that volume. XRP stands out as potentially the most enterprise-ready solution. So when we say BlackRock is preparing to unleash the flood, we're not talking about retail excitement. We're describing a calculated, systematic deployment of institutional liquidity wrapped in APIs, regulatory frameworks, and tokenization platforms. The type of transformation that revolutionizes how countries, financial institutions, and corporations transfer value globally in real time. For XRP holders, this represents something massive. The asset you're holding might no longer be simply a cryptocurrency. It's evolving into essential financial infrastructure. The question isn't if BlackRock will utilize XRP. The question is whether everyone else will recognize what's happening before the floodgates open. If you've been holding XRP wondering when the real action starts, this is your signal. Smash that subscribe button now for exclusive insights the mainstream won't discuss. BlackRock's infrastructure strategy. This transcends investment. Here's the reality. BlackRock isn't treating XRP like retail investors do. They're not chasing price spikes. They're pursuing infrastructure dominance. This isn't about quick profits. It's about constructing the foundation for the next financial era. Central to this infrastructure transformation is Aladdin, BlackRock's proprietary risk and portfolio management system. Aladdin currently manages over $21 trillion in institutional assets. What many don't realize is that Aladdin is being redesigned to integrate blockchain-based securities, specifically targeting real-time settlement, tokenized assets, and automated regulatory compliance. XRP fits perfectly into this architecture. Unlike most cryptocurrencies, XRP wasn't designed for speculation. It was built for enterprise-grade settlement. That's precisely why BlackRock's digital asset team has been quietly establishing integration groundwork. They're developing infrastructure that doesn't just accommodate crypto. They're implementing systems enabling XRP to flow seamlessly between tokenized real-world assets, central bank digital currencies, and global capital markets. During 2023 and 2024, BlackRock tested tokenized U.S. treasuries and money market funds, mainly using Ethereum-based platforms. However, in 2025, they shifted toward real-time cross-border capabilities. Why? Because Ethereum, despite its popularity, lacks the velocity and cost-effectiveness needed for institutional-scale foreign exchange settlement. Enter RippleNet and the XRP ledger. RippleNet provides direct institutional liquidity access, automated compliance mechanisms, and pre-established corridors. The XRP ledger delivers virtually zero transaction fees and sub-5-second finality, precisely what BlackRock requires when moving billions in tokenized assets internationally. Internal sources close to BlackRock's blockchain development team reveal their research has identified XRP as one of only 3 digital assets capable of universal bridge functionality. This means XRP could serve as the core infrastructure connecting tokenized ETFs, real estate funds, government debt markets, and carbon credit platforms. They're not viewing XRP as a coin. They're seeing it as infrastructure middleware. the invisible layer between legacy and tokenized finance that handles the heavy lifting nobody sees but everyone depends on. Why XRP specifically? It eliminates pre-funded Nostro Vostro account requirements. It neutralizes foreign exchange volatility during instant cross-border settlement, and it integrates without disrupting existing market infrastructure. For BlackRock's clients, central banks, major insurers, and sovereign wealth funds, this isn't a bonus. It's essential. When BlackRock operates in this space, they don't gamble. They construct. What they're building isn't just another blockchain approach. It's a liquidity network for tomorrow's financial infrastructure. And XRP, whether retail recognizes it or not, is being positioned at the center. The regulatory approval they needed and now possess represents the real transformation, legal certainty. BlackRock avoids assets in regulatory limbo. Always, their business relies on risk management, compliance, and fiduciary responsibility to the world's largest institutional clients. That's why the SEC versus Ripple resolution in 2024 wasn't just beneficial for XRP holders. It sent a global message that XRP had achieved regulatory legitimacy. When XRP was legally classified, not as a security, but as a utility token for real-time payments and liquidity bridging, everything changed instantly. That decision opened doors for banks, asset managers, and infrastructure providers who had been waiting. BlackRock was among them. Internal testing previously restricted by compliance issues was accelerated. Risk management teams approved XRP for sandbox testing across domestic and international settlement scenarios. Insider sources report BlackRock has conducted pilot transactions using XRP as a settlement bridge between tokenized funds in US and Asian custody systems. These aren't small-scale tests. They're institutional volume simulations focused on latency, cross-chain compatibility, and foreign exchange cost reduction. XRP succeeded. Beyond the SEC's position, the global regulatory landscape has shifted toward XRP. The UK's Financial Conduct Authority recognizes XRP's utility status. Japan's Financial Services Agency has consistently treated XRP as a legitimate settlement asset. The European Union's Markets and Crypto Assets Regulation acknowledges cross-border utility tokens in tokenized finance. More significantly, macro-level institutions like the Bank for International Settlements and International Monetary Fund are actively designing global interoperability frameworks where CBDCs, tokenized government debt, and private money market instruments must function across borders and ledgers. Ripple has maintained front-row access to these discussions for years. XRP's inherent features, scalability, speed, regulatory alignment, and built-in compliance mechanisms position it as a natural bridge asset. The BIS and IMF prioritize neutrality, transparency, and liquidity over technology. XRP delivers on these requirements. When BlackRock deploys systems connecting with RippleNet or tests the XRP ledger for liquidity channels, this isn't experimental. This is strategic positioning for new financial architecture being designed now. To outsiders, BlackRock appears to be exploring crypto infrastructure. Internally, they've moved past exploration. They received approval. Compliance obstacles are eliminated, legal risks are neutralized, sandbox environments are operational. XRP is no longer the underdog. It's being developed into one of the most regulator-friendly assets in tokenized finance's future. BlackRock's XRP initiative isn't about experimenting with cross-border liquidity strategies. They now have everything needed to proceed at full scale. How XRP integrates into BlackRock's tokenization approach, here's what most miss. XRP doesn't need to be held by BlackRock as a speculative investment. Its genuine function is bridging tokenized funds across jurisdictions, markets, and blockchains. In tokenized finance, where BlackRock leads, this role is crucial. BlackRock's tokenization strategy isn't theoretical. It's operational. They've launched tokenized treasury products, created digital private equity structures, and collaborate with financial regulators to convert traditional funds into blockchain equivalents. When these assets need to move between markets, jurisdictions, or blockchains, bottlenecks emerge, and XRP provides the solution. BlackRock's tokenized fund architecture depends on instant cross-border redemption, real-time foreign exchange-free settlement, and seamless global liquidity access. Conventional stablecoins or Ethereum-based assets that struggle with congestion and gas fees can't meet these requirements. You can't link a tokenized U.S. Treasury to a Singapore real estate fund using a blockchain requiring 10 minutes for transaction finalization. You need a neutral, scalable, lightning-fast bridge. That bridge is XRP. XRP isn't merely faster. It's specifically designed as an intermediary settlement layer for a liquid or blockchain-locked assets. It's currency-agnostic, ledger-neutral, and its native compliance features, like decentralized identifiers and tokenized trust lines, make it perfect settlement infrastructure for BlackRock's institutional-grade token networks. Picture this scenario. A German pension fund wants to reallocate tokenized BlackRock bonds into an agent ESG-linked tokenized index. These are different asset classes, potentially on separate blockchains. Traditionally, this requires multiple intermediaries, custodians, and foreign exchange conversion fees. With XRP bridging, that transaction settles in seconds, cross-border, cross-chain, and foreign exchange-free. Here's the explosive part. BlackRock doesn't need direct XRP custody to benefit from its utility. Through Ripple's enterprise APIs and liquidity hub, XRP embeds invisibly into backend infrastructure, automating settlements behind the scenes without appearing on quarterly reports. This isn't speculation. Ripple's institutional liquidity corridors are activating across Latin America, Europe, Middle East, Africa, and Asia Pacific. Major banks are joining. Tokenized fund managers are testing. The infrastructure BlackRock is quietly building flows directly through the XRP ledger. To retail markets, XRP remains a controversial cryptocurrency. To BlackRock's engineers and infrastructure teams, it's the solution to a trillion-dollar friction problem nobody else has solved. It's not about whether XRP will be adopted. It's about how seamlessly it integrates into the global financial network. XRP excels not as a speculative asset, but as the silent engine of institutional liquidity in the tokenized world BlackRock is constructing now. BlackRock's control approach, they don't purchase, they redesign. Unlike retail investors or hedge funds, BlackRock isn't interested in holding positions. They want ecosystem control. That difference is everything. Retail thinks about profits. BlackRock thinks about infrastructure ownership, protocol dependency, and backend integration. Their strategy isn't buying tokens. It's re-engineering financial flow. Here's their construction plan. Entry points into tokenized traditional finance, enabling institutions to transition from legacy products to blockchain-native instruments seamlessly. Real-time liquidity channels bypassing central clearinghouses and traditional foreign exchange corridors, allowing instant capital movement across regions. Smart contract integrations connecting regulated asset networks, ensuring compliance from issuance to redemption without manual oversight. BlackRock doesn't need direct XRP contact. They don't need to list, promote, or publicly discuss it. Their approach is more subtle and powerful. They're embedding RippleNet APIs, liquidity connections, and cross-chain bridges directly into existing asset servicing infrastructure. XRP becomes invisible middleware behind the scenes, moving trillions while remaining unseen. This is how institutional finance operates: quiet integration. Silent automation, systematic entrenchment. Here's the key insight. The deeper XRP becomes embedded, the more difficult replacement becomes. Every integration into fund servicing systems, clearing pipelines, or global custody frameworks makes XRP stickier. Infrastructure depends on its efficiency. Switching costs increase. That's not trading, that's a competitive moat. This is BlackRock's real strategy, not trading tokens on exchanges, not generating crypto headlines. Instead, they're designing completely new global capital architecture, with XRP coded into that system's foundation. It's strategic entrenchment at the deepest level, invisible to retail because it doesn't appear on CoinMarketCap or mainstream news. BlackRock is transforming how value is issued, moved, and settled. XRP isn't the product, it's the protocol. The infrastructure, the throughput layer for an institutional liquidity network spanning continents and asset classes. Don't expect BlackRock to announce XRP plans soon. They're not creating hype, they're building the rails. And XRP is becoming one of those rails. Quietly, efficiently, permanently. XRP pricing, what happens when the flood arrives? Let's discuss numbers. Think XRP's utility is already priced in? Absolutely not. Most retail traders watch charts. Smart money watches settlement flows. Tokenization isn't theoretical anymore. It's becoming the new financial world's operating system. BlackRock isn't just observing this transformation. They're engineering it. When you realize over $100 trillion in assets are being prepared for tokenization over the next decade, and those assets need neutral, liquid, real-time bridges, you understand XRP isn't just participating. It's being positioned as the universal connector. What happens when trillions in tokenized BlackRock treasuries, real estate funds, equities, and sovereign instruments begin moving globally across jurisdictions and blockchains? XRP becomes indispensable. We're not discussing speculative waves or altcoin cycles. We're describing utility-driven demand at macroeconomic scale. This isn't about price increasing due to excitement. It's about price being forced higher because the system requires more XRP in circulation to meet liquidity demands. Here's the crucial point. XRP has fixed supply. It's deflationary over time. It doesn't inflate like fiat currencies, doesn't dilute like most DeFi projects, and doesn't require staking rewards to function. What happens when fixed supply meets exploding demand for real-time institutional liquidity? Price isn't just rising. It's recalibrating to serve as global settlement infrastructure. That's not hype. That's mathematics. Liquidity generates liquidity. The more corridors XRP flows through, from European ETFs to African payment networks to Southeast Asian tokenized bond markets, the more pressure builds for price to reflect that global throughput. This isn't retail demand, it's machine demand driven by automated settlement systems. Most people miss this insight. When institutions begin using XRP behind the scenes at scale, price discovery won't occur on public exchanges. It'll result from automated rebalancing across tokenized markets, happening without tweets, trends, or news headlines. That's the silent phase. That's the phase we're entering. BlackRock's quiet integrations signal this transformation. This is XRP's second phase. Not just institutional curiosity, institutional necessity, not speculative momentum. Settlement velocity, not visible retail surges, invisible financial infrastructure materializing. As the XRP ledger scales, RippleNet onboards Tier 1 players and regulatory clarity strengthens across key markets, the fundamentals are no longer theoretical. They're operational. BlackRock doesn't make bets, they architect liquidity systems. XRP is positioned to become a backbone asset for that system. When the flood arrives, and it won't resemble a moonshot. It'll look like XRP becoming an inevitable settlement standard across every tokenized asset class. The tide has shifted. Retail hasn't noticed yet. BlackRock doesn't advertise crypto strategies until infrastructure is complete. By then, retail opportunity has passed. They don't chase markets, they create them. What we're witnessing is the quiet formation of a new liquidity regime. One where XRP transforms from speculative token to system-critical infrastructure asset. Retail will awaken when XRP already flows through every tokenized fund, every international corridor, every CBDC interoperability layer. But those who recognized early signals like you won't be scrambling to catch up. You'll already be positioned. This isn't about hype. It's about the most significant financial transformation since the internet's invention. Buckle up and smash that subscribe button to stay ahead of what's coming next. We decode every move BlackRock, Ripple, and the banks won't announce until they've already captured profits. The flood is approaching. And XRP isn't just weathering the storm, it is the storm.